What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hey, so since I've been down and out with my back issues, I basically exploded a disc in my back, haven't been able to walk. But in that time, I started really getting into like performance shooting, shooting at a much higher level than what I can shoot at. I've been doing a lot of studying, things like that. And one of the things that I'm going to experiment with is an LPVO, okay? Now, let's go through, it's a hot topic right now, okay? This versus a red dot and a magnifier versus an ACOG, it's a hot topic. So let's dive into what the history of this is and what it's actually meant for. Okay, so back in the 90s, there was this place called Mogadishu. You might have heard of it. Okay, pretty important operation happened there. What came out of that was a giant AAR, and when they asked the soldiers what they needed, the soldiers overwhelmingly said, we need a better way than old school iron sights to PID a target and to shoot them. And the Army went bet, and they put out contracts. They put out contracts everywhere, and a whole bunch of people threw some stuff in. Basically, the first thing we got was an M68 ACOG, or not ACOG, M68 aim point. If you can imagine, I'll throw a picture in here. We had a carry handle. This is my blood diamond gun, pretty sweet, huh? Anyway, we had a carry handle, and then we had this gooseneck that went over here, and the 68 sat like right here, right? I got issued that back in 1998 in my very first unit in the Army. I joined in 97, and the next year we started getting these red dots. Now, as you may know, all the old school dudes were like, oh, hell no, and they wouldn't let us qualify with them or anything like that, but we could use them during training events, and they were phenomenal. It was night and day. So I've been shooting red dots since 1998, right? So I have, almost 30, to 98, I have 29 years experience shooting red dots professionally, whether it be the military, contracting, law enforcement. In my job in the corporate security world, we use these and we qualify with them and all that. So long history with me and red dots, right? Now, two of the other things that came out of that contract was the ACOG. If you don't know what it is, I'll throw a picture in here. It's basically a fixed power little mini scope that has a red chevron in the middle of it, and it has a light gathering, like a diode type of deal up top, right? And when you first see that, when you first think about it as a soldier, we were like, oh, that's not bad. Like it's a fixed power scope, but they put that in there so we can almost do CQB with it. But there was a lot of problems. For one, the eye box was like teeny tiny. The eye relief was horrible. And then if you didn't put 100-mile tape over that light gathering thing on top, the chevron would be so bright that it would wash out almost everything else. So it sucked. I carried one in combat for a few months until I shit canned it and put an EOTech on. Then what came out was these 3-power mag. I'm not sure if the 3-power magnifier or the LPVO came out first. I can't remember which one. But anyways, we'll just say they came out around the same time. It doesn't really matter, okay? We went to these things, right? And the first versions of these, like this one I bought a long time ago. It's a Bushnell. That's how long ago it was. Here's the gun, and it flips to the side, right? So it flips to the side, okay? I did not like how that worked. I did not like, and again, this is an old one, but I didn't like the weight hanging off the side. I didn't like it because it would get snagged on things. So yeah, I just didn't like it. The eye relief kind of sucked. And it was in the way, right? And you had to do things with your hands to maneuver it, okay? And then came the LPVO, right? So this one I bought a long time ago, right? This is also a Bushnell. This is a 1-4. That's how old it is, right? No illuminated reticle, nothing like that. Basically like a scope for a hunting rifle that's adjustable from 1 to 4 that they threw on an AR, okay? The original thought behind this is what a lot of people get confused. The original thought behind this was not to do CQB with it, okay? It was not to have this as a main primary weapon system, okay, for everybody. What this was after we went to Iraq, like in 03, we needed, I say we, meaning the military, needed an intermittent weapon system. Meaning, the dudes on the ground that were doing CQB with red dots, that was good. The snipers that we had up on buildings, sniping dudes, that was good. But we didn't have enough snipers. We didn't have enough for Overwatch. And the dudes on the ground were starting to have to take longer shots. When I say longer, I mean like 150, 300 yards, right? Are you able to do that with red dot? Absolutely. You can do it iron sights, everybody did it, right? But it's way easier, especially in the daylight when you cannot see, 200 yards, you can't see a muzzle flash or anything like that. And you're like, is that dude in the window shooting at me, or is that dude in the window just looking at me? So this makes it a lot easier. So what my unit did, no, this is no kidding, we broke out the old M14, had a scope on it, and then we had a 7.62 rifle that could shoot out to intermediate ranges. And then if our sniper teams weren't overwatching us directly, then the M14 would take its place, right? You could still clear houses with it, but it's not the primary weapon system. You're like trying not to be the number one man, you know what I mean? So that's what it was originally designed for, okay? And when this thing was originally designed, there were no red dots on top of it or off the side or nothing like that. It was just a scope and you could dial it front and back. Now, since this, right, this was 2012, 2013, something like that, we have come leaps and bounds, okay? Since this, we have come unbelievable leaps and bounds. For one, we have a flip the center scope, right, or a magnifier, which lets you still look through your red dot, and then you just pull it up, and bam, you have your magnification. You don't need it, you put it down, okay? So, I went and bought a few of these, thinking that I might like them. I ended up not liking them. So, one, the eye relief sucks, still, right? Especially on this short one. Like if you put the short one here, my face has to come another, 2-3 inches forward to get the proper eye relief, right? So then you have to go to a longer one, okay, to get decent eye relief, right? The other thing is, you're gonna have to change your head position, which sucks, right? But then, if you guys look, even the flip the center one, almost the top of it almost touches pretty much the middle of this EOTech. So all you have to shoot your EOTech is the top half of it, which means your reticle is going to be in the top half of your optic. Which will it throw off your rounds? Yeah, not really. But the reason why we have optics like this is because the big window and you can see a lot more stuff, right? So it's not a good situation. Well, then dudes say, well, all you have to do is take it off and put it back on, right? So you take it off, you throw it in a pocket, and you put it back on. Theoretically speaking, that's great, but if you need that shit like right now, and you don't have it right now, you're kind of SOL, right? So, that sucks, The weight, not too bad, really. I mean, if you can't shoot with that, like if you're struggling to lift in an M16 or M4 or whatever with this on there, bro, you can go to the gym, okay? So, eventually I just took all 3 of these off, and I didn't like them, and I just ran red dots as red dots, right? I've been running red dots for a very long time. I'm pretty decent with them. When we would have shooting competitions in my battalions over in the infantry world, I was always coming in top 3 pretty consistently. Because of that, I was actually able to go to a few classes put on by the world's premier CQB team, i.e. Delta Force. When I got to those classes, my brain said, hey, guess what? I'm a really good shooter. You're not gonna be able to teach me much. I was absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. These dudes were so impressive. And I've talked about it before. It was just unbelievably insane how amazing these dudes were at not only shooting, but teaching us how to shoot. Opened my eyes to all kinds of stuff. And it was just, it was an amazing week. That's all I gotta say. I will say that one of the drills that we did was, I think it was 50-yard increments, but we were standing offhand shooting. I got back to 300 with an EOTech. I missed at 350, so I was out at 350. We had a 300 flat range, and it went back to almost 350 if you push the targets all the way back and everything. And we had one guy in our class shoot at 350, and then the Delta dudes that hadn't even shot yet, they went into the wood line. Okay, this is in the wood line out to 400, and they were just like, first round, ping, ping, ping. We're just like, well, fuck you guys, right? So it was awesome. They showed me, because the saying is you don't know what you don't know. They really showed me what I didn't know, and it really changed how I did a lot of things, and I brought that back to my unit and my guys. So I had the opportunity to go do that. I've had the opportunity to go to a bunch of different shooting schools. My last job in the Army for a year and a half-ish, I was in the Master Gunner Division of the headquarters for Field Artillery as an infantry dude. They brought me in to go train Field Artillery dudes how to shoot one of these 300 yards and in. So that's what I did. I went TDY all over the world and taught dudes how to shoot this thing. I taught them how to shoot it, from 300 in, all kinds of stuff, and I used most of the training that these guys taught me. So, awesome, right? But I got a love-hate relationship with this, because, the EOTech, the battery life kind of sucks, Now, these SIG Romeos, the battery life's awesome. It goes on forever. They're super rugged and tough. I'm gonna try out this Hollow Sun. It's pretty awesome. But like that EOTech was like $700, right? The aim points are like $800. Like, this Hollow Sun was only like a buck 50 or something like that. Same with the Romeos. So when I started looking for things to expand my collection of stuff here, I had this old girl right here, but I never used her. I didn't really train with it a lot. I have shot it. I have shot a whole day with like our security team. One day we had, I think 10 or 12 people shooting, and I brought all my guns in, everybody grabbed a gun, and I ended up with this old girl right here. And I was shooting, in CQB distances, right? 25 yards in, but I was doing all the drills. Everything was good. I didn't need an illuminated reticle, but it was in an indoor range with lighting and all that good stuff, right? So you can use it. But I was looking at this guy, and I said, oh, look at this SIG Tango MSR 1-6. And I saw some reviews, and the reviews were pretty good. So I was like, $280, like I'll pick it up, right? The reviews are saying that the mount sucks and it'll break. I haven't had that issue. I toss these things in the back of my truck and just cruise around with them when I'm going to the range and stuff, so I haven't had any issues. I mean, it's like it's pretty beat up, but no issues. The battery, it has illuminated reticle. It's like a horseshoe with a dot. It's bright. I found it good. I found the eye relief to be pretty good. If I bring the scope pretty far back, I can just keep the same position I would with a red dot. The eye relief's really good. The throw lever from 1-6, it's a little stiff, but nothing you can't get over, right? But what I found was the battery life is atrocious. It's like 5 seconds with this optic, right? So that's a huge downfall, right? It sucks. So recently I got the bug again. I built a new gun, right? And I was like, well, what am I gonna do with this gun? So I had already had this, okay? And then I saw this on sale for $200. It's a Vortex Strike Eagle, right? For $200 it was on sale with the mount. And I was like, dude, you know what? Maybe I need to give this a fair shake. So I went ahead and picked it up. But then, right, it's one of those things where like you always want to put a red dot with this. So I was like, where do I want a red dot? And I didn't know. You know, you go on the interwebs and it's pretty much split 50-50, 12 o'clock or 45. I don't know what I want. So what I decided to do was take these guns out to the range. I have 10 drills. Once my back heals up, which I just got shots this morning, it's feeling much better. I'm not 100%, but it's feeling much better. I have 10 drills I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it with a red dot. I'm gonna do it with an LPVO, okay? Basically, I'm gonna keep the LPVO on 1 power the whole time. And then I'm also gonna shoot it the 12 o'clock red dot and then the 45-degree red dot, okay? And then out of that, I'm gonna collect all my data, the times, the A's, the Charlies, the mics, all that good stuff. Collect all that data, and then from there, I'm gonna say, okay, what do I like? What do I want to use, and why do I want it? Right now, if you go on the old interwebs and you look at the pros and cons of all this stuff, you're gonna find a whole bunch of different stuff, right? So, pros, red dots, obviously great for short distances, for CQB, 100 meters and in, you're pretty much good to go, right? I have a little bit of astigmatism, so the dot kind of flashes a little, like, you know, blossoms or blooms a little bit on me, but not that bad. But still CQB, 100%, right? Are there dudes out there that can run this at the same speed as this for CQB? Maybe, possibly. I'm not sure that I can. That's why we're gonna go test this thing and see what it's like. But I'm gonna give it an honest assessment, okay? Obviously the downfalls of these are long distance shots, but then you have a magnifier and I don't like these too much. So I'm just gonna set, the magnifiers aside. The ACOG I absolutely hate. I don't know anybody who actually used it in combat that likes it, like actual combat. I know dudes who were like in the Air Force that had it and they're like, this is great. Those dudes never saw combat. Those dudes never actually used it to go into a house to shoot people. They never used it sitting on a roof when somebody's shooting at you to shoot, but they never used it. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Don't know anybody who loves it that actually used it. Most people that love it are either civilians or had jobs in the military that they never saw combat. My 2 cents, I'm just saying, I absolutely hate the thing. Okay, so cons on this. Pros on this, right? 1, you get magnification. Okay, that's a good thing. For recon stuff, this is like really good, right? For longer distances, i.e. past like 100, 150 yards, great. Dudes are hitting 500-600 yards with these things all day long, which is awesome. The bullet drop compensator, all the bullet drop compensators that all 3 of these have are all made for a certain barrel length, a certain ammunition, all that stuff. It doesn't mean it's gonna work with every single rifle, every single bullet grain, all that stuff. So you gotta take that with a grain of salt, which is fine. Now, a couple cons to this is, the reticle battery life sucks. When you mount the gun right here, right, I can still shoot 2 eyes open on 1 power. As soon as I get any more than 1 power, you're going to 1 eye closed. Just kind of how the brain works. It's not something you can really help, okay? So, the other con is you got this optic that's like 17 feet above your line of bore, right? So, if I have a good cheek weld over here, this is a chin weld, okay? I'm not sure how I like that. I'm not a huge fan of it dry firing on the couch. I will tell you that. I'm much more a fan of the 45 degree because I get a good cheek weld. However, then I have this big tube on my left-hand side, and when I don't gather as much information as I'm, shooting, your CQB distances, right? Like inside rooms and whatnot. Now, does that matter? Could that matter? Yeah, maybe. It's something, hanging off the side, which I already alluded to earlier, that kind of sucks. It's something that could get broke off. It's another thing that needs batteries, all that stuff, right? The good things about red dots is you don't have any parallax. And you don't have any eye relief. That's the great things. This, regardless of how nice it is, I don't have anything that's super expensive here. And I wasn't gonna buy something that's super expensive until I said, yep, I really like this, and then I would go buy one. But even the really nice ones, you're gonna have some sort of parallax even on one, right? It's not gonna be 100% parallax free. I mean, that's just the way it is. You're gonna have a little bit of parallax here and there. Now, there are videos out there. Sage Dynamics did a video, can't remember how long ago, where he took a red dot and LPVO and he did scope shadow, he did up, down, left, right, and he proved that your bullets don't move. Like, the scope shadow doesn't really matter that much unless you're, going out to distance. The reticle being left, right, up, and down, inside your CQB stuff, it doesn't matter. So that's a good thing, right? But again, I don't know how much I like it. The weight, yeah, it definitely weighs a lot more, right? I don't know people that go off of either 1 power or max power. There's not too many people that hang out like on 3 power. So I got to play around with that a little bit. But I am also the type of person that if you tell me and show me that I'm doing something wrong and you say this is a better way to do it, I will 100% shit can the way I was doing it and go to the new way. And I think the majority of us will do the same thing. And let me prove it to you. Back in the day, when I had an M4, it kind of looked like this, okay? How did I run it? I ran it like that. And when I shot it, I mean, this is horrible. This is like gay, right? But that's how I shot it, okay? Then, you see some people on the YouTubes, if you're young, or for me, I went to some classes and they said, you got to pull that all the way out. And I was like, well, what do you mean? It looks so cool when it's pushed in. They're like, yeah, it does look cool. However, you shoot like shit. So I said, okay. So I basically shit canned that and all of my guns were all the way pulled out. And if you look at just about everybody's stuff from back in the day, everybody ran their stock in, okay? I'll put a picture in there of that too. So I am 100% willing to shit can what I do and pick up and adopt a new way of doing it. Another example is, you guys ever heard of the Magpul, the bad lever, the little lever right by the trigger that lets you send the bolt home when you reload? I always thought that was gimmicky and stupid until I saw some guys like Matt Pranka talk about it and said how he uses it and how he utilizes it. And I said, fine. I bought one. They're like 25, 30 bucks. I bought one and I was doing reloads at home and I was like, shit, he's right. It's way better. So I pretty much put them on all my guns, right? I still got to, I've used them a lot, and I tell you what, when I'm reloading and I just hit that and my hand doesn't have to do anything else but go up here, it's pretty nice. And I can put the bolt back with this finger as well. Just like that, and then bam, send it home. So that makes it easier to do that too, to clear malfunctions and things like that. So anyways, I changed my mind on that too. Risers, okay? This used to be, I remember when people were putting EOTechs all the way out here, okay? Because nobody knew where to put them until some dudes that shoot real good said, hey, why don't you put them in the middle of your gun, right? And there's reasons, because this could be off-canted, this weight is in the center, things like that, right? But people were putting them all the way out here, and there's a whole bunch of like SWAT dudes that did that, right? Because they thought they had a better field of view when it was way out there, okay? But that's when also we were holding our magazine well like this when we were shooting, and we've all changed that now, haven't we? And I'm not gonna lie, thanks to Magpul, right? Because those videos, let's just be honest, okay? We're not doing this, but we are putting our arm out here. We are getting our arm out there a lot farther than this, right? So everybody, I think, has changed their ways in some way, shape, or form. But when you go on the interwebs and you start talking about this versus this, dude, there is a heated discussion, and it is crazy. Guys like Matt Pranka, I'm not sure they absolutely hate these, but I think they hate them for doing CQB stuff, is kind of what I'm gathering. Another one of his buddies that came from, the unit, Jesse Prinko, I think Jesse Prinko, something like that. If I'm butchering your name, bro, I am sorry. I apologize. I just started following him on Instagram. He actually is adaptive defense, I think. Jesse Cinco, I think. Adaptive defense. Okay. So, anyways, he actually asked yesterday. He said, "Hey, guys that shoot USPSA, they use PCCs or pistol caliber carbines, and none of them run an LPVO. They all run red dots. Why is that?" The overwhelming majority of the people said, "Well, because they're only shooting 50 yards and in, and they're getting at really weird angles and things like that, and that you don't need an LPVO for 50 yards and in." Came out today and said, "Guess what, guys? I absolutely agree with you. Now let's throw some data at you." Here's the data. Over 90% of engagements in the military through the Iraq War were 150 yards and in. It's a little bit further for Afghanistan, but mostly still 150 yards in. Okay, and that's for the military. For law enforcement, it was like 50 yards in, because cops don't take long shots hardly at all. Okay, so with that being said, would it not behoove you to have a red dot that can shoot 100 and in, and that would be your primary optic, as opposed to an LPVO where it's not as good for CQB as this? Can't argue with the guy, right? I just can't do it. He makes a very valid point. A very valid point. You know what I mean? And I gotta say that, like, dude, you might be right. I'm still gonna go give this an honest review. I'm still gonna do that, just for myself, not for YouTube or anything. Just an honest review of, can I shoot it? Granted, I have 30 years of shooting red dots, so it may not be apples to apples right away, but can I get pretty close to shooting as fast as this? And these 10 drills that I'm going to shoot from, I'm going to start at 100 yards and I'm going to go to 50 yards, and all these drills that I'm going to do, can I still run it as hard as I run this? I don't know. I just don't know. Like I said, these red dots, they're really natural to me. I've been using them for a very long time. I can do it, blindfolded with 3 toes, and it's fine, right? I'm not as used to using these. I never really wanted to be a sniper in the military. When these first came out, I went to a designated marksman course that taught us how to implement these medium range snipers, or defensive marksmen or designated marksmen, into your squads, and how to utilize them in urban terrain. We shot out to like 500, I think. But it's not my gig, man. I'm not a sniper. Doing math is not cool with me. Crawling super slow is not cool with me. I've never liked it. I tried it. I went to like a pre-sniper thing when I was younger, like an E4, and I was just like, this shit is not for me. Did not want anything to do with it. Back then, they didn't have ballistic calculators, so everything you did was like on a 3x5 card, and it was all hard math, and I didn't like it. So I was like, no, it's not for me. But I have really taken to heart red dots, and I could just shoot the shit out of these things. And I love it. I love red dots. I don't have an issue with them at all. Some people have an issue with these risers. I don't. I do not have an issue with risers. I have not found them really any hindrance at all. The only thing that I have seen is if you zero it at like the 50-200, it's not a true 50 to 200. It's more of a 50 to 220, 240, right in that area, only because of height over bore. So, these are the same height over bore. You got like 3.75, I think, 3 inches, 3.75 inches height over bore if you're using a riser. This thing on top of the clone bad boy, that's a little over 4 inches, right? Height over bore's a little different, it's a shorty barrel. This, I think this is like just over 2 inches, 2.5 inches, I want to say. And then this is almost 4 inches. This is, a couple inches, so that's not a big deal. This one, that again, that's like four plus, something like that. But The height of a board does matter. Like I said, this is a chin weld instead of a cheek weld. I don't like that. I could put a riser on here and it would be good, but then it would suck for my LPVO, right? So that sucks. However, again, I want to give it my honest review. I have never really put a hard day's of work in with these things, and these things are getting issued to a lot of SF dudes. They're getting issued to a lot of other units, and even dudes from the unit are saying the perfect setup is an LPVO with a 45-degree red dot. There's dudes from Delta Force that say that's the perfect setup. So who do I listen to, right? And my thing has always been, you know, don't listen to anybody. Go out and do your damn self, right? Take their opinion, take it with a grain of salt, knowing that it's just their opinion. Go out and test everything on your own. See if you like it or not, right? I mean, not everybody's gonna like it. Like personally, when I deployed in 03, 04 to Iraq, I had, no shit, a AA mag light that you had to twist the cap to turn it on. I had it taped to my gun, okay? I always wanted that cool Surefire that had the grip there. I was one of those, but they're like $500. But I think because of that, and I had like a single lumen and like maybe one candela in my AA light, because of that, I'm the guy that wants all the damn lumens. I want everything. So like these Surefire turbos are awesome, and I got a cloud defense over there. I want it all because I was not privileged enough to be in those units to get all the cool guy stuff, so I had to deal with a Bic lighter out there doing CQB, and it sucked, okay? So because of that, you know, I think my mind's like, no, just get the damn brightest thing you have. Pros and cons to that too, right? But that's what I want, and that's what I have, right? And I understand the cons of it, and I can work with it. So anyways, guys, what I'll do is I'll go film all this stuff. I actually got a little cool thing for a GoPro to go off the gun, pretty neat. I'll film all this stuff, and I'm gonna just give you an honest assessment of what's going on. Good, bad, or ugly. I may love it, I may hate it. I may be like, yeah, I'm shit canning all these, or I may just, you know, keep one or two on a gun. Like these are longer barreled guns, this is a short barreled gun. And don't get that twisted in either, because even short barrel guns can shoot pretty damn far. So don't let people be stupid. And these longer barrel guns, these 16-inch guns can shoot out to 1,000 yards, and they can actually get hits on target, and the bullet, when it hits the target, it still kills people, okay? If you don't believe me, there's videos on the YouTubes. It does, okay? These little guys, even this 11.5 inch can still shoot out to like 500-600 yards. So don't tell people that it can't do it. Even this little bitty dude can shoot out that far, okay? So don't be dumb. And let's be honest, like civilians aren't gonna shoot that far anyway, right? Not until like society collapses and then, you know, everybody's getting all the guns. But anyways, hey, that's what I'm gonna do. I owe it to you guys. I owe it to myself. And I want to know if I can run this just as good. I'm going to run them, like I said, at 150 and then CQB distances, a bunch of different drills. I think I have 10 drills that I got all from Ben Steger and X-Ray Alpha and all these other dudes that shoot really good. I just stole some drills from them and I made up some of my own, things like that. And let me go out there, I'm going to run them hard, I'm going to run them honest, and I'm going to say, hey, listen, either yay or nay, right? It's either, yeah, I can run it pretty good, the times are similar, or like, hey, I suck at this, I either need more practice or I need to shit can it, one of the two, right? But that's it. Hey, thanks for listening to me run my mouth, I appreciate it. And always ask yourself, are you an asset or a liability?